If you are black, brown, gay, Muslim, or Jewish, you are not welcome here. Because this is a new whites-only community being built in America, and they call themselves Return to the Land. And if you don't hold what they consider traditional values, or have European ancestry, then you are not allowed in. Bro, even the dog is white.
They're putting up white-only signs. Here in Missouri, they're trying to start a white-only community. I don't give a fuck what the reasoning is. It's time to speak out. Every random person watching this, it's time. Holy fuck.
Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. In case you're new here, my name is Maren.
And I'm Maureen.
So by now, most of you have heard of the town that is being developed by white people in America, and that other races of people are banned from going to that town. So today we're going to be reacting to the reaction of white Americans who are raged by this decision of their comrades, of course. And of course, they don't support and they are strongly against this idea. According to them, which apparently everybody thinks so, they feel like this is the beginning of a very bad idea that is gonna create separatism and it's gonna encourage the white supremacy system, right? Guys, let's watch what we have prepared for you and then we come back and talk about it. You can let us know your thoughts and opinion in the comment section. Also consider subscribing if it's your first time here, right? Let's watch.
What we've done here is establish a place where we have control over who our neighbors are, and that is just for the sake of preserving, you know, our culture.
And that culture, effectively, we're saying this is a white culture, a whites-only place.
White American culture.
Over the last year and a half, high up in the Ozark Hills in the state of Arkansas, dozens of people have been working hard, leveling the land, building houses. They call it an intentional community based around shared ancestry, a long-winded way of saying something really quite simple.
I think we would generally be called far right, sure.
It's called Return to the Land, and they invited me in.
A lot of people are going to be, why are you making Nazi references?
Right. Well, why wouldn't I?
A seemingly bucolic and sometimes surreal experience. But this is built on a radical modern premise, made possible because of a new political and technological moment. One with strong ties to the most active far-right groups in the US. Instead of taking to the streets, they are building their own, for generations to come.
It's important for me to do this for my ancestors, my friends, my family, my children, my children's children.
But in this southern US state, people who have lived through segregation once fear it is returning.
When you hear things like that, it causes you to be fearful. And you don't know who to trust.
Its founder says he is building a fortress for the white race.
It's a racial association. I kind of want to ask you, you know, after seeing this, do you think what we're doing is immoral?
What are the Ozark Mountains? The Ozark mountain chain is a densely wooded ripple in the Earth's surface, running from eastern Oklahoma into eastern Missouri and Arkansas. The average elevation is between 1,000 and 2,500 feet. The mountains themselves are noteworthy for the presence of numerous hot springs, which dot the area.
Come on, guys, let's be real. This isn't about heritage. This is about hate. This is about building a safe space for white supremacy under the guise of community. And what's even more disturbing, these people feel so emboldened these days that they're not even hiding it anymore. They're openly promoting racial segregation like it's normal, like this country didn't literally fight an actual civil war to end this bullshit. This is what happens when politicians feed the lie that diversity is the problem. This is what happens when you have people in power pushing the idea that America was better when it was whiter. They want to isolate, they want to indoctrinate, they want to raise their kids in a world where no one challenges their racism, their ignorance, or their twisted version of history. So, here's the question. How in the hell are we letting this happen in broad daylight? Where are the zoning boards? Where are the civil rights investigations? And where is the national outrage? Because if they succeed here, this won't be the last. It'll literally be the blueprint.
No blacks, no Jews, no gays. High up in the Ozark Hills in the state of Arkansas, dozens of people have been working hard, building houses and a new type of community. It's called Return to the Land, and it is a town open to white people only.
Okay.
It's so weird watching black people get mad at white people for starting functioning white communities. It's like, you know how happy we'd be to see black people start a functioning black community? Like, we would leave you to it. We would be, oh my goodness, good for you guys.
History says otherwise. Every time black Americans built thriving, independent towns, white racists didn't celebrate it. They bombed it. They burned it down, or they buried them under lakes. Greenwood, Tulsa, Black Wall Street. Greenwood wasn't just doing well, it was booming. Doctors, lawyers, pilots, banks, theaters, luxury shops. White racists couldn't stand to see black excellence thrive on its own terms. So in 1921, they dropped bombs, set fires, murdered people in the streets. Survivors said they saw white neighbors wearing their stolen clothes the next day. Rosewood, Florida. Rosewood had 2-story homes, a school, a post office, businesses. A lie about a white woman led to a massacre. White mobs destroyed the whole town. Oscarville, Georgia, now Lake Lanier. Black farmers owned land, made money, raised families. White residents didn't like that. So in 1912, they terrorized every black person out of town. Decades later, the whole community was flooded to build Lake Lanier. Their homes are still at the bottom. Seneca Village, NYC, now Central Park. This was a stable, middle-class neighborhood. Black families owned land, voted, and lived free. Then the city tore it down to build a park. The land is now worth hundreds of millions. The original owners got nothing. Colaja in Susanna, Alabama, now Lake Martin. Colaja had its own school, businesses, and even a railroad. Susanna had homes, churches, and deep roots. Both towns were drowned, literally, under Lake Martin to build a hydroelectric project. And today, people jet ski over the bones of a black legacy. Vanport, Oregon, built during World War II. It was one of the only places black people could live due to racist housing laws. In 1948, officials intentionally failed to warn black residents about rising floodwaters. When the dike broke, a wall of water wiped out Vanport in a single day. Over 18,000 residents were displaced. These towns were thriving, innovative, self-sufficient black communities. And every single time, that success was met with white rage, jealousy, and destruction. Over 200 black towns destroyed by mobs, policy, bulldozers, and floods. This country never minded black poverty. It fears black prosperity.
Has everyone seen that community that's being built in America where they are only accepting white Americans into their community that they're building? And recently Sky News went over and actually interviewed these people and asked them what they were basing it off of, basically. And they said that it was just a community of people with similar ancestry to each other. I have another word for this, it's called a sundown town. And also, let's not forget to mention that the double standards are insane, because if this was the other way around and any other race was having a community and wasn't letting white people in, the outrage and the public uproar that would occur is, you can only imagine. This group said in their interview that the community was about freedom and just a community. However, it is nothing other than organised hate. The fact that this is also legal and does not fall under any regulation of discrimination and simply racism is absurd to me, but also not even slightly shocking considering the current state of the USA.
They're building a fortress for the white race in the Ozark Mountains in Arkansas. It's called Return to the Land, probably because their neighbor already took the name KKK. Their rules: no gays, no Jews, no non-whites. See, they needed to be able to control who their neighbors were, and apparently the town where they've settled, Ravenden, was just too diverse at 94% white, so they needed to build their own white town. As if the Ozarks themselves aren't white enough for these people. Most of y'all probably haven't been there. I've been there a lot. It's a very white place. Their idea of diversity is a Chinese restaurant that serves shitty dim sum and a Taekwondo studio that's in the back of someone's house. Apparently they have to have their own white town because if you don't have rules against it, anyone of any race could be your neighbor. These people aren't even from the Ozarks. They've migrated there, which is actually my favorite part of this. They have no clue what actual subsistence farming looks like. They're cosplaying trad lifestyle, traipsing around in flowy dresses, watching their husbands work with state-of-the-art equipment while they pretend to be pioneers. In reality, all they're doing is running away from people who have different...
Yesterday, I posted a video talking about the white-only community that is being built in Arkansas in the USA. It is basically a white supremacist group where they will only allow someone to join their community if they are white. In response to that video, I've had some very, very dense comments saying, I don't see the problem with this, what's the problem? Like, there's literally countries that are fully one race. If you simply can't comprehend the problem with racial segregation in the modern day USA, then there is simply nothing that anyone can try and educate you on for you to understand basic thinking. But also the difference between a community being built on force and discrimination, as in you are not allowed to enter if you're a certain race, as opposed to a community that is naturally just more statistically higher in a certain race than the other, but that doesn't mean you're not allowed to enter if you're another one, as opposed to that, which is what you used as an example in the comment. Just the fact that someone cannot comprehend the difference between them is also just really telling of their lack of intelligence, really. And I also just wanted to make this video to again address this problem. There is a white supremacist group in the USA building a white-only community. Let that sink in.
So guys, welcome back. Let us know what you think about the videos you just played in the comment section, right? So there's a motto there that one of the speakers mentioned to us, right? And it goes, you want a white nation, create a white town, right? And just from the idea or from the words of it, it already sounds bad and it already sounds racist, right? You want a white nation, create a white town. This, not forgetting the fact that America is made up, like America is a metropolitan state, right? It's made up of every other type of people who are foreigners, people who've been born in America, people who've been naturalized in America, people who happen to be of different color other than white. So when you say, let's build a white nation to create a white town, then what are you suggesting to do with these other groups of people, right? Right. And in the comment section of this video, I actually saw a South African lady commented that is Orania, the town of Orania being built in America, you know. And with time, this thing is gonna create a big and huge problem of segregation. And of course, black people have been quiet, and most black people, of course, have been quiet throughout this whole incident, you know. And some are even tired of the whole BS, you know. Right, and some are even okay with white people separating themselves from the rest of the group, provided that they leave the black community to also do the same, especially when it comes to finance and them building their own community. They do not want the government to interfere with them, just as the government has not interfered with this white community that is building themselves. Right. And I was even asking myself, for this man who has sponsored this group, you know, the man doesn't look like much, right? He looks like a very ordinary white guy, right? So our biggest question is, who is sponsoring him in order for him to build this whole entire community, right? He doesn't look that sharp. And I was thinking to myself, when you look at these people, how they are talking, how they claim to have found each other with the same kind of people with the same thinking process, same ideologies, how they claim to have found each other, you ask yourself, is this not, for those who've watched the series Handmaid's Tale, yeah, for those who've watched it, this is looking like some kind of Handmaid's Tale in the making, you know. It's like it's gonna get to a point where, because these women are more than happy to talk about how they're happy to stay at home, serve their husbands, you know, do all those homely, housely things, which is not a problem. And you know, again, I do feel like so long as they're not interfering with people in after going to those Ozark Mountains and building their own community, so long as they're not interfering with other groups of people, then let them live the way they want. And just as black Americans are also, most of them are also staying out of this, you know, I do feel like they should also let black people live. And when black people try to get their independence like that from systemic racism, when they try to build their financial systems, they should not be burnt down. Because there's a sister here who was explaining different towns that black people tried to build and they were torn down by the government and white supremacists, you know. And I do feel like that is how systemic racism works, and that is how when, you know, because like for the most part the white people are the ones who are who yield power in America, right? And for them to allow black people to also create their own systems, it means that that power dynamic will eventually shift, you know, and the they no longer have the control they usually have on the black community, and that is what they don't want to happen. Right. And guys, you know that it's really bad if even their own are coming out. And you know, some of these words have come from the horse's mouth. Some of these words have come from their own type of people. So you know, it's really, really a bad idea when even their own people are coming out to speak against what they're trying to do, because right now what the world is a result of integration. Right now what the world is a result of migration, you know, intermarriage. What happens then, because this is like somebody said again, it's like a test for when this works in that particular town, it's like they're gonna spread it to the whole of America, you know. So this is just like a test of what's to come should it be successful, you know. And I'm asking myself, why is this should not even be legal? It should not even be a consideration, being that there's a whole other group of people in America and they all contribute to the growth of America. There are jobs that other groups of people are, you know, okay, you can just say more groups are more likely to do certain jobs, you know, like for example, immigrants. Also immigrants hold, you can say that the backbone of America, you know, because, let me just explain, backbone of America in the sense that, you know, much as they normally say, much as there's a rich person, also there needs to be that balance where there's somebody who's working in the service industry for things to function normally or smoothly, you know, because we all cannot be rich, we all cannot be served, and we all cannot be servants in a certain setup. There needs to be someone who's rich, there needs to be someone who's doing the job, cleaning, delivery, you know, such types of jobs, you know, and they all make up the system that America is. So if you build a whites-only town, the question is, are you ready to be, okay, in a society how it works, somebody is gonna be oppressed. Are you ready to be oppressed as a white person, and the one being oppressing you is a fellow white person? Do you know how, you see how that is looking? Right, but for white people, for them to find themselves in the Ozark Mountain, it means they're fine with the situation. And my biggest question is, what is your take? What do you think about the white people going to settle in a secluded area? Personally, me, I'd support them, like, go, you know, just go, and because you cannot change who you are, and if you've been raised in a system that oppresses people, that is who you are, that is what you practice. It means you're going to import that in your new world order, and you're going to import that in your new community. So it's gonna reach a point where I'm not seeing it working, because in the first place, the reason why historically white people needed to import slaves into America is because they were tired of doing their own that work. They were tired of working in the fields, you know. They needed people to do that on their behalf, and so they went to import slaves, you know. They turned people against each other was by, first of all, they used classism, right? And then when that failed to work, now they turned to racism, saying that this skin is better than this, you know. So even in this small little white perfect town where there are no crimes, I see the same thing happening. It will come a time where they'll start fighting against each other, and to solve that situation, they're gonna need to import people who they can claim to be bad, who they can blame everything bad on them, so that they don't get to, you know, fight against the powers in that certain, you know, little community. Right. So guys, let us know what you think about this episode, and also consider subscribing if you're new to our channel, and we'll see you on our next episode.